Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews and connections in mind, and welcome back to another installment in my reaction series to each and every episode of the 7th and final season of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, if you've never seen any of my other reaction episodes before now, this is just my short form reaction series where I give a brief recap of this week's episode as soon as I see it. Give some thoughts as to what I thought worked, what I thought didn't work, as well as certain analysis of certain plot developments and character arcs that happened in this episode that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, just to get this out of the way, this will be a full spoiler review of this episode, so if you have not seen the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7 yet, I would recommend you stop this video now and come back later when you have, because this will be full spoilers from here on out. So without further ado, let's get into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7, Episode 2, entitled Know Your Onions. The title Know Your Onions is a reference to the Koenig, the contemporary Koenig from 1930s New York, who is very impressed with the technical know-how of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team as they continue to track down Wilfred Malik, the ancestor of Gideon Malik, who was carrying a special package for the early Hydra. And while Mack and Deke are unaware of the significance of Fred for most of the episode, the rest of the team is hot on tracking him down before the Chronicoms do and take out Malik so that the timeline can be preserved and that S.H.I.E.L.D. can be formed, even though there's some friction in the team between Daisy and Coulson specifically about the ramifications of letting Malik live, that letting Hydra live, letting Red Skull be born, and World War II happens, and millions of lives will be lost as a result, when they could just as well just kill Malik now and potentially save millions of lives, but then who knows what the future would be like. That's one of the main conflicts in this story. Another part of the story involves Agent May, who is apparently recovered from her physical injuries at the end of season 6, and she's up and about. However, she is very obviously not herself, because she seems even more unfeeling than she was beforehand, mainly that she apparently feels no pain, for one thing, and also she seems oddly detached from events, and she seems intent on joining the mission without thinking of the consequences, and it's very obvious that she is not herself. Even reuniting with another version of Coulson doesn't seem to faze her all that much. And there's a certain amount of mystery as to what exactly has happened with Melinda May, and how will she play into events in the future. So there's that plot line, and this episode concludes with the Chronicoms failing in their mission. Malik is able to deliver his package, the vial of green liquid, which it is revealed what it is, and the significance of it. And the Zephyr and the S.H.I.E.L.D. crew, minus Enoch, are transported to another time, which the preview for next week's episode appears like they're going to be transported. The next time zone will be late 40s, early 50s Nevada for the next time period. And we then see that Enoch is now going to join, apparently going to join the precursor organization of S.H.I.E.L.D., Koenig's operation in New York, for the foreseeable future, presumably the next 15 or 20 years before he can reunite with the team, perhaps longer. What I thought worked about this episode is I thought it had really good, it has pretty decent action. It's got good period action as far as, I mean, I gotta love the set. They did the awesome job with the set pieces and the cars, and just being able to see Coulson firing a good old fashioned Tommy gun against the Chronocoms is pretty awesome. Um, I thought that they did right to at least bring up the topic of the age-old conundrum of, oh, what if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler? How many people would you save? Yes, you would still save many lives, but if you came back to what your present was, it would look very different from what it is now. Maybe not for the better. Who knows? So I think it did a good job of raising that question, though. They kind of shut down the any kind of discussion as to what it would be, what the consequences and the ramifications of that would be. I thought they could have done maybe a little better job of that, but then again, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has never been humongous in terms of pondering the big ideas. It really just kind of brings them up, acknowledges them, but then moves on to the next action piece, which can work at most times, but I think this kind of topic probably deserves a little bit more attention than the episode gave it. I thought that while they did keep the relationship between this Koenig and the future Koenigs still somewhat ambiguous, I think that because this is the final season, they could at least do something to give us a little more info as to what the deal is with all the identical looking Koenig copies in the future. Maybe they'll address that in a future episode of this season, but I don't know. If they don't address it again, that feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. I mean, this is the last bit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. we're gonna get. Just give us something, anything at this point. But overall, also another thing that I thought maybe didn't work as well is that in this final season, it feels like certain character development is starting to fall a little by the wayside. It feels like Mack and Deke were kind of sidelined for this episode. They didn't really do a whole lot. They had their little moment at the end when Deke is about to is pointing the gun at Malk, and they have their little exchange. But other than that, it feels like they got kind of sidelined, and I think it works. These episodes work better when you get the whole team together, which sometimes can work if the main focus of the main team focus of an episode is strong. Like last episode, I thought even though some characters got maybe a little bit sidelined, the main the duo of Daisy and Coulson worked really well, and their relationship worked well in that episode, and it balanced things out. This one, I'm not entirely certain that it really had a good character dynamic with here. I mean, Simmons had more to do, and that was kind of cool, but really, it felt a little more scatterbrained and less focused as far as character focus goes. But overall, I think this did a adequate job of wrapping up the events in the 1930s time setting, and it does a good job of setting. It introduced the new rule of you don't know when the Zephyr is going to jump to a new time, so that adds a new element. A good job of filling in a new rule that this show is going to have to follow going forward. I look forward to seeing how that will play into future settings that they do. Maybe they'll only be in a setting for one episode before they switch to a different one. We'll get to see more and different settings as time goes on. Also, I think the revelation that the serum that the vial that Malk is transporting to Hydra is in fact a key ingredient to the precursor super soldier serum that Dr. Erskine was working on, which Red Skull took so that he could become Red Skull. That was a good nod to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. However, part of me wonders if Dr. Erskine was working on this formula and the courier was going back and forth through Germany, why was it in New York at all? You would think that it would just stay in Germany if that was what Dr. Erskine was working on. That seems like an odd question. Maybe there's a simple answer. I don't know. But that seemed a little odd. Like I said, the main the main conflict in this episode is whether or not to change the future for a supposed greater good and what consequences might result of that. And like I said, in this episode, it doesn't really address those consequences any real depth. But then again, there are other series and episodes of TV that have dealt with this very issue. One of the more famous examples, I think, and also dealing with events in the 1930s going into World War II, is the classic Star Trek episode City on the Edge of Forever, in which Kirk and Spock and McCoy go back to the 1930s, and by preventing the death of a woman who is a advocate for peace and non-interference, she somehow prevents the U.S. from getting involved in World War II, and things progress way out of control from there, which results in no federation happening in the 23rd century. And so in order to preserve the timeline and preserve history as you know it, Kirk must allow this woman to die. A kind of reversal, but it's still similar situation where that in order to save the future, they must allow this person who they know is going to be turned into give birth to a madman or become a madman himself, to live. So there are other movies that have dealt with the effects of time travel and the effects that will happen in the future as a result, but that's the main example that I think this episode really draws comparison to. But like I said, this episode, I thought it was perfectly adequate to wrap up this timeline, and I look forward to seeing what we have next week. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this episode. What did you think of Season 7, Episode 2, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Is there something I missed in my analysis? I may have missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. I hope you guys are staying safe out there, and like I always say, you have seen this before, and sadly we have seen this before in referring to current events, and all I'll say with that is everyone deserves to be safe, everyone deserves justice, and the law should apply to everyone. That's all I'm going to say on the subject. Like I said, hope you guys are staying safe out there. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.